long way.
That was the one in my house growing up.
I put it on 69. That'd be good.
16.
Well, keep on.
I haven't heard my long yet.
We are now live on YouTube. We are recording. We've got everybody muted except for the main camera. Ready to go.
Go. Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. This is Monday, May 18th, 2020, meeting of the Board of Mayor and Alderman. Will everyone please stand? And Lois Davis, would you lead us in invocation? And Alderman Jeff Linville will lead us in allegiance.
May we pray. Oh God, creator and sustainer of our life, we thank you for the opportunity to live and be a part of the government in the town of Unicoi. We thank you for our community and for its citizens. We pray, God, that you'll be present, that your abiding presence will be here with us, and that everything that's said and done will be pleasing in thy sight. In thy name I pray.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
America,
and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I need to read something here. This meeting, subject to board approval, will allow members to participate electronically or by other means. Citizens wishing to submit comment to the Board of Mayor and Alderman may do so by submitting comments on the Unicoi website by mailing to the following address: P.O. Box 39, Unicoi, Tennessee 37692, or calling the town of Unicoi at 423-735-0517, and or by dropping off at the Town Hall drop box located in the Unicoi Drive vestibule. I will now do the roll call. Whenever we do the roll call, if you will, please answer here. I can see participants. I can hear participants. Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Bowen. Here. I can see and hear everybody in the room. Alderman Radford. Here.
I can see participants, I can hear participants.
Alderman Linville.
Here, I can see participants, I can hear participants.
Vice Mayor Hobson.
Here, I can see participants, I can hear participants.
Mayor Lynch.
Here, I can see participants, and I can hear participants. Okay, we're down to item 5 on the agenda tonight, and I will combine item 5 and item 6. Item 5, the Board of Mayor and Alderman will consider the necessity of meeting electronically to protect public health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Item 6 is the Board of Mayor and Alderman adopt executive orders and procedures for meeting electronically. So I will entertain a motion to approve those two.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item, these two items? Call for the question.
Alderman Bowen.
Yes.
Alderman Radford.
Yes.
Alderman Linville.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson.
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes. Okay, we're down to item 7. And I will now ask Lois Davis to review the meeting etiquette for virtual meetings.
Mayor, this is part of virtual meeting guidelines provided by the Tennessee Comptroller of the Treasury. Some of those items don't apply because, of course, one thing is to introduce everyone, but the members of the board are here assembled and have their name placed, so we don't have to introduce everyone. One of the things that is, because we are hearing electronically, that is a part of the etiquette, is to not interrupt others while they are speaking. Another one is to mute phones. Of course, I think everyone here has silenced their phones or turned them off, except what's necessary to record and broadcast the meeting. And of course, one of the things we probably do need to be reminded of is to, since this is a hearing electronically and remotely to make sure to eliminate as much background noise as possible. And then, of course, just engaging in common courtesy to each other. It's a little bit better to be, it's a little more helpful to be courteous since there's an electronic broadcast component of this. So those are the broad outlines of the virtual meeting guidelines that we need to observe.
Okay, thank you, Lois. All right, we'll move to item 8, the approval of the April 20th, 2020 BMA meeting minutes. I will make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion about the minutes? Call for question.
Alderman Bowen,
Yes.
Alderman Radford,
Yes.
Alderman Linville,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes. Okay, we're down to item 9. Special presentations, we have none. Item 10, we have a oral proclamation. Let me see if I can try it here. Proclamation by the mayor of the town of Unicoi, Tennessee, to recognize and honor Jerry Ramsey by declaring Jerry Ramsey Day within the town of Unicoi. Whereas the town of Unicoi, through its mayor and aldermen, are pleased to congratulate and recognize Jerry Ramsey for his many years of service as a board member on the town of Unicoi Planning Commission. And whereas Jerry Ramsey selfishly and willingly served the citizens of our community, and as a member of the town of Unicoi Planning Commission Board for 12 years. Jerry Ramsey has been a dedicated man of the community and by personal interest in the citizens and their needs, was also professional, courteous, and friendly in his service to all citizens. And now therefore be it resolved that the town of Unicoi, Tennessee, on behalf of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, commends Jerry Ramsey on his many years of service to the town of Unicoi and its citizens and the community. Now therefore, I, Johnny Lynch, Mayor of the town of Unicoi, Tennessee, on behalf of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and all the citizens of the town of Unicoi, do hereby establish the fourth day of July, 2020, as Jerry Ramsey Day within the town of Unicoi, and hereby honor Jerry Ramsey for his service as said. I'd like to add that the 4th of July is his birthday. Okay, do I need a motion on that?
I make a motion, we do need one, because Jerry's a high fella, we should do something else for him, he's out here every day working and stuff. He works through the bank once a month, all day long, at the church, and he does a lot.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve that one. Any further comment? Call for question.
Alderman Bowen,
Yes.
Alderman Radford,
Yes.
Alderman Linville,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Okay, item 11. Old business, excuse me. Item 11, a resolution 2020-317, consideration and approval of resolution 2020-317 corrections to personnel policy.
Just some few words, Lois, or something?
So your may I speak to that? Maybe it'll help to clarify what that is. This same information was on the agenda last month and approved as a motion, but because it is affecting the personnel policy, which provides that it has to be done by resolution, this is a resolution to approve the motion you passed last month, which was simply to make some typographical and other corrections to the policy. What had happened was when it was adopted, there had been some corrections, and when those were typed in and the computer reformatted, it left out a line. So that first item is just adding back in a line that was left out. Then under holidays, and this is where the corrections were, the word receive had been left out at the beginning of the sentence, and there was a sentence fragment. And part of it was replaced, and that sentence fragment was not taken out in the printed version. So we're trying to get those corrections approved by resolution as opposed to the motion that you all approved last month.
Okay, you want to just go ahead and read the resolution?
Sure, I'm going to. Resolution for the town of Unicoi, Tennessee to approve corrections to the town's personnel policy approved by motion on April 20th, 2020. Whereas the town of Unicoi has developed a personnel policy affecting the working relationship and requirements of both exempt and non-exempt employees. Whereas on April 20th, 2020, the town of Unicoi Board of Mayor and Aldermen by motion approved certain corrections to the personnel policy. And whereas said corrections should be enrolled in the records of the town by resolution. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Unicoi personnel policy is hereby corrected as set forth in the motion passed on April 2020 to provide as follows. That's April 20th, 2020. Add to the top of page 13, 30 days, period, additional sick leave accumulated above this level shall be forfeited to the town, and then it completes in the next sentence. Concerning the paragraph entitled holidays, add the word receive at the beginning of the 5th sentence, and delete the sentence fragment reading, or they must take that day prior to the end of the fiscal year, July 1 to June 30, when they will forfeit the day. This action is to correct a formatting error and typing errors in printing the previously approved policy. This resolution was duly considered and adopted by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen in and for the town of Unicoi, Tennessee, this 18th day of May 2020, and shall take effect from and after its passage. Voting by the board as follows.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion now.
Motion to approve resolution 2020-31.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of resolution 2020-317. Any further discussion? Call for question.
Alderman Boyd. Yes. Alderman Redford. Yes. Alderman Linville.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hodgson.
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes. Okay, we're down to item 12. Unfinished business. Over to item 13, new business, presentation of the audit for fiscal year 2018-2019. From Mickey Ellis, CPA, and I understand this is correct.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good deal. I hope everyone's doing well this evening. I'd like to thank the board for having me in this format. Also want to thank Ms. Kessler for her help, and I want to shout out to Travis Bishop, wherever he is, to thank him for all of his work in this regard. But as you know, we have issued your June 30, 2019 audit report. We have given you a clean or unqualified opinion. We had a couple of repeat findings from the previous years, or things that were just carryovers, I think. One was a violation of the 3-day deposit rule, and the other was, let's see, invoice cancellation. So I'm sure those things will be taken care of by Ms. Kessler in the years to come. As you well know, we had to pull this report back and add 2 more findings as a result of the comptroller's investigation. Ms. Bethany Wilson of the comptroller's office informed me that those had to be included. I told her that I didn't agree with that, and that I didn't plan to put them in unless she and the comptroller's office made me, and they did. So we'll have revised copies to you just as soon as possible, probably in the next few days. I think Ms. Kessler already has copies of the extra findings. Other than that, the fiscal year we looked at, you showed a fund balance on June 30, 19 of approximately 1.2 million. Operational results, excess expenses of about $61,000, and that of course was primarily due to the general fund support of the Mountain Harvest Kitchen. Beyond that, I don't have any prepared comments unless you folks have questions. Feel free to fire them up for me.
Mickey, I have one question for you. These additional findings that were added on to, those have been corrected, haven't
They have been. Those things are actually, and the reason I didn't want to put them in, those things were actually addressed 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years.
more than 2 years now, because we're in 2020 and these things came up in 17. That was one of my arguments to Ms. Wilson. They were reported in previous audit reports. The BMA has dealt with it, done whatever they were supposed to do. And I didn't see any point in putting them in, but because of the timing of the release of that investigation, she said they got to be there. But they have been taken care of. As a matter of fact, I imagine with Ms. Kessler on board, these will all clean up by 6/30/2020.
I believe the other two have been corrected also.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Have any more comments or questions for him? Do you have any questions or comments?
No, no. I mean, the board members have copies of those additional audit findings that we got today. And I didn't see any issues with resolving those.
Okay, well, do you have any more questions?
Make a motion.
Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? That's the option. Call for question.
Alderman Bowen? Yes. Alderman Radford? Yes. Alderman Linville?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson?
Yes.
Mayor Lynch?
Yes. Okay, item D is consideration for approval of an application for retail liquor store certificate of compliance for the town of Unicoi for Dimple Kalish Patel, CEO, Omkar Matt Incorporated. Business will operate under Maple Grove Wine. You want to say anything about that, Peggy?
No, I think Ms. Patel is on if she would like to make any kind of comments or anything, or anybody has any questions. Everything's been provided from them and everything seems to be good. And if y'all have any questions for her, she is on.
The state's already approved it. State.
Actually, we approved the certificate of compliance first, and then they go to the state.
Okay, any more comments or questions?
I make a motion to approve the application.
Okay, we have a motion for approval of this application. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Call for question.
Alderman Bowen? Yes. Alderman Radford? Yes. Alderman Linville?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson?
Yes.
Mayor Lynch?
Yeah. Okay, C is consideration for approval of contract between the state of Tennessee Department of Transportation and the town of Unicoi for interstate mowing and litter pickup. And this comes up every so many years. We have to revisit, renew.
The original contract was 2018 with the option to approve for additional year for 2 years. So this is just a formality to sign off on this agreement.
I make a motion to approve that.
So we have a motion for approval
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Call for question.
Alderman Bowen? Yes. Alderman Radford? Yes. Alderman Linville?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson?
Yes.
Mayor Lynch?
Yes. Item D, consideration for approval of the contract with Marco Mowing and the town of Unicoi to perform interstate mowing. Debbie, say anything on that?
No, and actually, this is the one that is the year, and then it's renewed for 2 more years each year. So this is right.
This is it. Okay.
I make a motion to approve it. He does a great job. I just think it's contract re-signed and it's like formality to make sure we get on record right.
Okay, we have a motion on your second. Have a second. Any further discussion about the contract? Call for question.
Alderman Bowen? Yes. Alderman Radford? Yes. Alderman Linville?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson?
Yes.
Mayor Lynch?
Yes. Let's vote. Approval of resolution 2020-316, resolution to authorize a joint venture's participation in the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System in accordance with Tennessee Code Annotated Title 8, Chapter 34, Article 37, Unicoi County Emergency Medical Services. Lord, can you take care of that?
Sure, I'll be happy to speak to that. Pursuant to the statute side, there is provision under the law for the situation that we have with the ambulance authority where multiple governments are engaged in setting up a board to run joint venture such as the ambulance authority. That its employees can be covered under TCRS. And so the situation here is that each one of the agencies involved in this is asked to approve a resolution so that the employees of the ambulance authority can participate in TCRS. And it requires that each one of those governmental entities approve, commit to guarantee payment of their respective program share. And so that's how this resolution is written. And would you like me to read it? So that the actual words of it can be heard on the record. Mayor, you want me to read it?
Yes.
Resolution 2020-316, Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System Joint Venture Political Subdivision. A resolution to authorize a joint venture's participation in the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System in accordance with Tennessee Code Annotated Title 8, Chapters 34 through 37. Whereas Tennessee Code Annotated Section 8-35-201 provides that any governing body of a joint venture between one or more political subdivisions of the state may by resolution authorize the employees of that joint venture to participate in the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System, TCRS, subject to the approval of TCRS Board of Trustees, provided that each political subdivision of the state which is represented in the joint venture passes a resolution guaranteeing the payment of its prorated share of any outstanding liability so incurred by the participation. And whereas the governing body of Unicoi County Emergency Medical Services joint venture has passed a resolution authorizing its employees to become members of TCRS under provisions of state law and under the following terms and conditions. Type of plan, regular defined benefit plan, assumption of employee contributions, not assuming any employee contribution, cost of living increases, provide cost of living increases for its retirees, eligibility of part-time employees, not allow part-time employees to participate in TCRS. Prior service. Not allow employees to establish any prior service. Maximum and unfunded liability does not apply. Whereas the future date of participation, the effective date of participation shall be on July 1st, 2020. Or such other later date is determined by the TCRS Board of Trustees, and the initial employer contribution rate is 6.5%, which is based on the estimated lump sum accrued liability of $0. And whereas the town of Unicoi is represented in such joint venture and decides to allow all employees of the joint venture to participate in TCRS under both terms and conditions, or under such other terms and conditions, the governing body of the joint venture may adopt pursuant to laws governing TCRS. Provided, however, this governing body must approve by resolution in such action that would increase the liabilities of the joint venture for their political subdivision. And whereas the liability for participation in cost of administration shall be the sole responsibility of the joint venture, and all public entities responsible for the direct funding of the joint venture and not the state of Tennessee. And whereas the joint venture has passed the budget amendment appropriating the funds necessary to meet such liability, the same is attached here too. The Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the Town of Unicoi hereby authorizes all employees and eligible to participate in TCRS in accordance with the above terms and conditions, subject to the approval of the TCRS Board of Trustees. Hereby guarantees the payment of its prorated share of any outstanding liability so incurred by the above referenced action for joint venture. It is acknowledged and understood that pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated Section 8-35-111, neither the joint venture nor the political subdivision shall make employer contributions to any other retirement or deferred compensation plans on behalf of the employee who participates in TCRS pursuant to this resolution, wherein the state employer and the teacher hybrid plan is adopted by joint venture employee. I'm sorry, I skipped a line. Total combined employer contributions in such plan is 3% of the employee salary, unless the local government hybrid plan, the state employee hybrid and teacher hybrid plan, which are not applicable. If either the local government hybrid plan or state employee teacher hybrid plan is adopted by the joint venture of the political subdivision will make employer contributions, and again, that doesn't apply. Into any one or more additional tax deferred compensation retirement plans on behalf of such employee, provided the total combined employer contributions to such plan on behalf of the employee does not exceed 7% of the employee's salary. And that's reviewed by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And I will say that a similar resolution has been submitted to both the town of Irwin and Unicoi County for each of them to pay their appropriate pro rata share. And in addition to that, we check to see the budget is going to drafted. Includes that level of university community. That is included in the budget for that to be funded through regular budget, not through further appropriations from the towns and from the county.
Thank you, Lord.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2020-360.
Have a motion and a second for approval. For resolution 2020-316. Further discussion. Any questions or comments? Call the question.
Alderman Boyd,
Yes.
Alderman Radford,
Yes.
Alderman Linville,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hodson,
Yes.
Mayor Lewis.
Yes. Okay, ordinance 20. Ordinance 2020-274. First reading and consideration of ordinance 2020-274, an ordinance having its Florida Tennessee adopting annual budget fiscal year beginning July 1, 2020, and ending June 30, 2021. An ordinance of the town of Unicoi, Tennessee, adopted the annual budget for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2020, and ending June 30, 2021. Whereas Tennessee Code Annotated -9-1-116 requires that all funds of the state of Tennessee and all its political subdivisions are first be appropriated before being expended, and that only funds that are available shall be appropriated. Whereas the municipal budget law of 1982 requires that the governing body of each municipality adopt and operate under an annual budget ordinance, presenting a financial plan with the information required by the state statute, that no municipality may expend any money regardless of the source except in accordance with the budget ordinance, and that the governing body shall not make any appropriation in excess of estimated value available funds. Whereas Board of Mayor and Aldermen has published the annual operating budget and budgetary comparisons of the proposed budget with the prior year actual and the current year estimated in the newspaper of general circulation not less than 10 days prior to the meeting, where the board will consider the final passage of the budget. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, down to you what you say as follows. That's help your Lord.
Sure.
Start with section 1 there.
Turn back that page, I'm sorry.
Okay.
projects anticipated revenues from all sources and appropriate planned expenditures for each department, board, office, or other agency, municipality here presented, together with the actual annual receipts and expenditures of the last preceding fiscal year and the estimated annual expenditures for the current fiscal year. And from these revenues and unexpended and unencumbered funds as follows for fiscal year 2021, and including the projected ending balances for the budget year, the actual ending balances for the most recent ended fiscal year, and the estimated ending balances for the current fiscal years. And then it has the numbers for each section.
Make a motion to talk about the budget. Not, is that right, proper time now to make a motion to talk about budget?
You'll need a motion and a second to open up discussion.
Motion approved. Okay, we have a motion approved.
Second.
Second.
Now discuss.
She was the second, I made the motion.
You made a motion.
Yeah, I made the motion. Open it.
George made the motion. Kathy made the second. All right, go ahead. More discussion.
Discussion about it, but let me talk to Debbie.
Do you want me to go through and refresh what we did, what I've done as far as?
Yeah, we go like that.
Yeah, I think that's what you.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, we'll start with the local tax revenues. I had discussed about requesting the $865 for local sales tax. And then that was before the pandemic with the COVID-19. And I reduced the requested amount by 20%, which you're looking at that $692,000, which is a $173,000 decrease from what we had originally were going to request. If you move on down to, because I don't think anything changed really with licensing permits, but if you move on down to intergovernmental revenue, state sales tax, based on recommendations from UT TAS, which changed the per capita from $93 down to $84. We had originally requested $338,245, and that brought it down to $305,088. That was a $33,157 decrease. The state gasoline and fuel tax was also per capita went down from $38 to $33. So the requested amount of $138,016 we reduced down to $119,856. So between the three of those decreases, the $173,000 for local option sales tax and state sales tax, $33,157, and gasoline and fuel tax, $18,160. That's a total of $224,317 that we decreased our revenue in taxes. Any comments or questions?
Part of what we come up with, your total figure at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty well in line with the MTA's suggestion.
Well, I think that the 20% decrease in local option sales tax is very conservative. I'm hoping that it won't be any worse than that. But this would be the time that, if you want to make a change, then you can do that. I want to talk about it.
Any other items that you want to?
And we can keep going on down through the changes if you would like. When we get to the next section on grant revenues, I just wanted to point out that we do have $30,000 for the police department and equipment grant revenue and actually overtime. And Andy might want to talk about that a little bit and how that can be used for his police department.
I mean, it's, two grants, one's 15,000, one's 5,000. One's and what's the word they call it? It's saturation grant, like a high visibility grant. It's, they paid into your paid employees. That's why part-time people, that's a big emphasis on part-time people, so we can actually pay them through this grant. I can't because I'm a salary employee, so they will actually get overtime pay to be out here and working through the state. And one of the grants, the $5,000 grant, 4,000 is for equipment, 1,000 for overtime, the $15,000 grant is 50/50, 7,500 for overtime, 75 for equipment.
Can you explain how that overtime pertains to the part-time people?
If they're scheduled to work, if they're working when they're not scheduled to work, when they're out here, it will go into that will classify as the overtime. Anything over what they're already scheduled to work, they will get paid through the state highway safety office. It's for traffic safety.
I asked you one thing, Debbie, on the government expenses at RW. White State Bridge we're going to have to do is about almost $500,000. Do you think that'll be done this year? We have to leave it in there though. We get reimbursed.
It is supposed to be done at the end of the calendar year. We talked with Jill Workman with Ty Singer Hampton, and she feels like the bid process will probably start, she said, end of June, July. So you're right there at the end of the fiscal year. So she did say that bridge should be done by the end of the calendar year.
This calendar year.
This calendar year.
We
And that's
I did that,
100%
we get
TDOT.
reimbursed as you go, right?
But we have to pay through the engineering stage. And then after it goes out for bid, we can start requesting reimbursement for what we paid.
So we've got money already in it, and we can get that back.
I
once
think
it
we're
goes
gonna have about 62,000 by the end of the year,
in. Yeah, it's at 50 right now, right?
close.
Well, it's really 100%.
It's 100% reimbursement from TDOT.
I was gonna throw out the other $10,000 for the grant was through the Homeland Security. It's for equipment, stuff, all other equipment.
Yes, which would offset your budget. But when we get
Yes.
down to the department, we'll talk. Okay.
A lot of mine. So,
Then we've also added the Governor Lee State Grant, the $108,939, which was determined by population of the town of Unicoi. We'll do a resolution for that hopefully in June for the projects. Okay. So you can see the decreases in the taxes are $224,317. And again, it's an estimate. You know, we don't know. I think we can move on down to of course, we know that in the auditing, accounting services, and the central staff section, we know that part of that was for Rutherford Moss, which was about $14,000, and about $6,000 for Mr. Ellis's CPA firm to do the audit. He has agreed to do the audit at the same price, as long as we have someone at year end to do the financials, the schedules, the GAAP statements, and the TCRS accruals. So we're getting cost estimates on that, and I think we can save probably about $7,500 the first year, and the second year maybe $9,000, because I know there's a setup fee for any new accounting firm when they come in and start. And I would like to put that additional money into another position to do some accounting,
Do that.
things, so.
That's a smart thing to do.
So, then we're gonna, let's see, move on down. Don't really see much, town hall different, except for the fact that we talked about where we were gonna add cleaning, contractual cleaning to town hall, the welcome center and the kitchen. And we're gonna split the cost of all that between the three of us. I think Andy's agreed to do his own cleaning.
Yes.
Also, in the visitor information section, we still have budgeted the undergrounds maintenance. We include $10,000 for that food forest. So that's in there as well.
Is that the one with Pat, that's the one with Pat Hart, party with the ground, isn't it?
Okay, that's been a discussion for years. Maybe after the amphitheater.
Yeah.
Set, I mean, I don't know. I would hate to see that all messed up, with, building the amphitheater. Then we have them transferred to the Mountain Harvest Kitchen. This would cover the expenses for the kitchen and the portion of the grants that is not reimbursed by the grants. And we can talk about that fund in a few minutes. I know that Lee is on if there's any questions for her. When we get down to the government expenses, of course, we've got the amphitheater grant in there. That's a $248,000 expense. The land is the match, so it's kind of a wash for the revenue for the amphitheater and the expenditure for that. I think that project, it has to be completed, I think, the fall of 2021. And then as far as the ARC Trail Buffalo Connector, that's from the Pinnacle Trailhead to the Welcome Center now, reducing the scope. And that's in the budget for $362,000 because we have paid some on that and we've been reimbursed some as well. And then we have the bridge in there, the RW Estates Drive Bridge. Like I said, that should be finished at the end of the calendar year. I think the Buffalo Valley Connector, I did ask them if there was a possibility to have an extension for that. And they have not gotten back with me on that. Just to, be cautious about any kind of, cash flow. So
What was the deal on that? There's another bid coming in on the trailhead from the.
that's gonna be a rebid, so.
When that rebid comes in, we can't handle it, can we just take that off?
I think that's what they said you could do. But
I think they said that there's a possibility we may have to pay, set the back, but they said no one that they've known has ever had to do that. That's from DDOT.
Okay, let's see. I think Ashley has her festivals in there. What we've spent, what you're seeing projected for this year was actually the 4th of July, which was in 2019. So it kind of falls, into the next fiscal year. That's why you're seeing Strawberry Festival $225 because basically it's canceled. Okay, and then we're coming on down to the police department, and that's the part-time wages that Andy was talking about, the $30,000, which would be offset by some of those grants that we talked about up there in the revenue. The only other thing is that I see he's got this vehicle purchase, which is a used car for 15,000, and that would be, I think we talked about partially paying from that state grant.
And if I can add something in there, a lot of that stuff I talked about before, it's gonna be offset through the grants and stuff. It's a lot of the equipment and operating supplies and stuff like that. That stuff is gonna be through the grants. We had that.
Yes, and what I was going to say, where this department's got the $131,000, if you take a look at the grants, and if you take a look at the anticipated municipal fines from the extra auxiliary people, that nets down to basically looking at $61,000 for the police department.
And just throw that out there, the people we're bringing on are experienced people. They're really good officers.
Okay, and let's move on down to, anybody have any questions so far? Okay, we'll move on down to public safety. I know that we had put in 98,000 for the Unicoi Volunteer Fire Department, and 40,800 was approved. Unicoi County 911, we increased from 5,000 to 7,500. Animal control salaries, the request was 60, and we reduced that to 45. This is a new item. The emergency medical services for the ambulance was 28,340. So it's a new item that's been added.
Planning to buy them an ambulance?
Do what?
We're planning to buy them an ambulance?
No, this is just their appropriation.
Okay, because when it has ambulance there beside it, it makes, when I see that, I'm thinking we're buying them an ambulance, but that's just our portion of their.
That's just their appropriation.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
That was there to help me.
Probably couldn't buy a vehicle for that much.
Sales tax, that's paid sales tax.
Yeah. Sorry, I just clarified, thank you. That's fine.
Okay, moving into the public works, I think I mentioned that I moved the mowing, the interstate mowing into this department, just to kind of follow in suit with the audit. And we've listed the projects that we want to do with the 108,000. With again, that 15 going to the used police car. Excuse me. And then down to the next section are the donations and requests for donations. And we went down on the CHIPS Family Violence Shelter down to 2003, and Unicoi County 4-H Club from 3 to 2, Unicoi County Little League from 2,500 to 2, Public Library 5,000 to 4, Litchfield Senior Adult Center 5,000 to 3, Second Harvest Food Bank 1,000, left at 1,000, Unicoi Church of God, the Manna Food Pantry 2,000, left it at 2,000. Children's Advocacy Center, 1,000 was the request, and we left it at 1,000. Soil Conservation District was requested 3,000, and we appropriated 2,500. UCHS Mock Trial Team was 500, and we approved 500. Veterans Affair, they requested 1,697, and we did 500. Imagination Library 1,000, and we did 500. YMCA, they requested $5,000, and we did not appropriate anything for the YMCA. Moving on down to the next section, which is debt service. everything's, the principal and interest has been adjusted for the 2021 year, and the last high school payment will be made in June 2020, which frees up that $175,000 that we've been paying out. And with the situation that we're in now, I think that's good that we have now that extra money that we can, hopefully get through this crisis. When we move down to the gateway enhancement section, I've separated out the mowing of exit 32 and 34. I put $4,000 in there for that. It's I think that's about 5 times mowing. The rest of the mowing will need to be done by the maintenance crew. In economic development, I'm kind of skipping on down if I don't see anything sticking out. We have increased the advertising from 15,000 to 18,000. I don't know if Ashley wants to talk about that, and then she might want to talk about the 5,000 that's in economic development, which is the facade grant.
The facade grant is something that we had talked about at last year's retreat, and they had wanted to add that in. It's just a matter, we've got a framework that has been submitted by economic development for the county that we were gonna go over that at the retreat. And unfortunately, we didn't get to go to that. So we're gonna be working this year to implement that, since that's what you guys had requested last year. And the other one was the
Advertising.
That one we had requested a little more on, because our intentions were to, and hope still is to, print brochures. We do not have any brochures directly for the town of Unicoi, and running a visitor center, when people ask for things to do, they really want something in hand to take out of there with them. So there's a couple of different brochures that we were looking at printing this year. We understand if that needs to be cut, but it is a necessity at some point. Now, I am hoping that in the fall, the tourism department for the state offers up the marketing grants again. And if they do, then we can get some money to help offset the cost of that printing. But we're just not sure with the COVID crisis what's going to happen there.
We've been talking about that for 4 or 5 years, about doing that brochure for having first town Unicoi. And never got to it,
We'll get to it this time. I've got one that's almost finished as far as design work. I've got another that needs to be improved upon. And we've got some fairly decent pricing through standard printing. We'd also had some discussions with the business lines about helping with that a little.
I think business lines can help out with some of those brochures. Because we've talked about that map thing in the past.
Any other questions on those 2 items?
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Your department's pretty much the same. I mean, there's not much change there. We've also, let's go and look at the kitchen budget. We added 30,000 for a 10 ECD grant. Lee might want to talk about that. We did add that to the revenue. And like I said, we're sharing the cost of the janitorial services, so we did put in a line item for that.
We do have a contract ready for that, and the background check came back okay. All right, so we should be proceeding with that next week.
Okay, good. Okay, the grant that we put in, the Tennessee grant, was 30,000, and that's been offset in the bottom down there on her expenditures, 30,000. Is she on? Lee?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Lee? Or does Lee want to say anything about her budget?
Lee, can you hear us?
I can. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have anything to add. I think that covers everything.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? The part of the transfer from the general fund is in her revenue line item. That way we balance our interfund transfers. So what's going out of general fund goes into the kitchen, and I take her cash and put it in general fund whenever she has cash. So that's the way this fund works. It's a special revenue fund, and it, you can see it at the bottom, there should be no change. Any questions? Okay, we'll move on to the drug fund. This is a special revenue fund set up for this year. We just started it with a $5,000 budget for court fines and costs, and we've just offset it with $5,000 in operations. And that way we have that fund ready, because any drug fund money or anything needs to be kept separate from any other fund. I know this ordinance is a little bit different than what has been used in the past. It is the ordinance that the comptroller requests that you use. That's why we're using it. And the next section, I think, discusses the estimated fund balance, which we estimated for the general fund to be $1,086,527. And then also in section 3, you list your debt, and we listed it for the bond, sewer bond, and our 2 notes, which is a capital outlay note series 2017, and then another bank note. And then in section 4, we've listed the grants, the amphitheater, the ARC Power Trail grant, which is the trailhead to the Welcome Center. And then we've listed the RW Estates Drive Bridge TDOT project. Let's see. Section 6 is where money can be transferred from one appropriation to another in the same fund, not to exceed a certain level. They want you to put an amount in there. And it can be transferred by the mayor or by the city recorder. And the amount can be changed if you want to lower it, if you want to increase it.
The same fund for clarification, Debbie, that means in each of these sections that we went through, like public works,
Like for example, I know on the next budget amendment, you're trying to project what your year end's going to be, but you're not supposed to be over budget or anything. And I noticed that some of the utilities on the, I think it was the visitor center, didn't seem like they were going to come in exactly, but there was maybe a little bit more in another line item, and you can move it. That's kind of what this is talking about. You can do line item moves. If you see that one's going to get to be more than the other, it would be, you could go ahead and do the line item moves, as long as you, at the next meeting, you make that known, and you make it known to the board members, and you make it known so it's in the minutes.
It's just within each one of our code sections.
Okay. So, discussion.
Mine's been set together. Oh,
Further discussion?
very well. I guess I need a motion.
Madam Clerk, call the question.
Your motion to discuss. So you want to amend your motion to pass the budget?
Oh, okay.
Is that what you're wanting to do now? Kathy, you making a motion to do that?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second. I thought we only did that.
No, it's a motion to discuss.
Motion to discuss. Oh, discuss. Okay, the motion is second.
Alderman Boyd? Yes. Alderman Redford? Yes. Alderman Linville?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson?
Yes.
Mayor Lynch?
Review ordinance, 2020-275. The first reading and consideration of ordinance 2020-275. Amending the budget ordinance for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2019. and ending June 30th. Whereas the town of Unicoi adopted the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget by passage of ordinance number 2019-261 on June 17, 2019. Whereas pursuant to the Tennessee State Constitution, section 24 of Article 2, no public money should be expended except for appropriations made by law. And whereas pursuant to the municipal budget law of 1982 as found in Tennessee Code Annotated Section 6-56-209, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen has the authority to authorize the budget officer to transfer money from one appropriation to another with the same fund. Whereas project priorities for the fiscal year 2019-2020 have evolved, therefore be ordained by the mayor, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the town of Unicoi, Tennessee, that changes be made to the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget as follows. Debbie, you want to take over?
Yes. Okay, there are no increase in the revenues. The general government is going from $1,589,082 to an amended budget of $1,595,692. And behind that ordinance, we have an increase on the budget on payroll taxes and legal services and the visitor center electric and water and gas and some ground maintenance as well. So the total of that $6,510, the difference between the budget amount for the federal government and the amended budget.
Section 2, ordinance number 2019-270 hereby amended by the following for expenditures. And section 2, Board of Mayor and Aldermen authorize the city board to make said changes in the accounting system. Section 3, the ordinance shall take effect immediately upon all passage.
Motion approved. Second.
There's a motion and second, any further discussion? Call the question.
Alderman Boyd?
Yes.
Alderman Redford?
Yes.
Alderman Linville?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson?
Yes.
Mayor Lynch?
Yes. Okay, reports of officers and committees. Water Health Board. Report. Disaster emergency plan realization by Mayor Hobson and report. Cleanup committee, Alderman Linville.
Just one little thing, Unicoi Drive seems to not have the river problem that it did have in the past. Thank you, Andy.
Thank Andy for that. Okay, the Unicoi Business Alliance.
Yeah, now's a good time to, because I think we're still on for a beautiful trail challenge in the fall. If it's around actually right now, so we will begin that.
History Committee, Pat, man, not the big meeting. Potential Human Resources, Steve, OB. Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, Vice Mayor Hobson.
We had a planning commission the other night, and one item on there was the
I don't know.
DCA met, BJ met, extended it out in the right Tarford building. He had 6 months of construction. We extended 6 more months of completion of the house there, and we approved that. BZA. The planning, we turned down one wanting to put a mobile home downtown Unicoi next to their home, a single line mobile home. We had to turn it down. It was a sad situation. We turned it down, and it's okay. That's on the real.
Planning was
Oh, it
there.
got us just clawed up.
Temporary committee, Animal Welfare Board.
You've got packets in your paperwork there. April, I think was a little bit slow because of COVID, but a lot of the animals were placed, not necessarily adopted, but placed through a variety of resources. You can see for April, County Unicoi had, let's see, none picked up, no dogs either. Year-to-dates look pretty much the same. There were 6 calls from Irwin, 4 from Unicoi, and 7 from the county for a total of 17 calls. And I think the COVID actually kind of works as a benefit to give time to do some work now. And they've done a lot of cleaning out, a lot of rearranging. Kevin is very productive at fundraising on your little bullets list on your updates. If you use a Kroger Value Plus card or a Kroger Plus Rewards card, you can actually donate to your Plus. Anyway, and then there's the financials, and they all pretty much look the same. It's just going to be a strain to finish out the year, especially because they didn't plan to adopt much. They had set time.
Like we do.
No, haven't been able to do a lot of stuff. So, and we probably would have had a successful cat rescue, except for I thought actually it was somewhere different than she does. Because I did go out to try to get the cat. Shit. So that's on me. That's on me. That's all on me. But we'll keep following up. It has to assist them to get there first.
Mountain Harvest Cooper, Lee Manning. Lee,
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I have a report in the packet. I think it's page 136 for you guys. I don't know if you have the computer in front of you. First, I want to say that I made a mistake on the date. So this is a report for April 2020, and the notes I put March, so just ignore that. This is April. So the Mountain Harvest Kitchen was rented for 99 hours in April to 4 processing clients. Our 3 food trucks have remained consistent commissary members. We've seen storage rental increase, and we trained 2 new members who will likely begin processing this season. April is usually a busy time because it marks the start of the farmers market and festival season. Considering circumstances, we're pleased that MHK has been able to remain open, and we continue to see interest from new clients, even though these events aren't happening. There is a table in your packet that shows the activity and how this year compares to previous years. Hourly booking revenue was pretty similar to 2019, just 2% higher. and total revenue was down about 11%, mostly due to class revenue. I do think that had COVID-19 not happened, we would have been busier. We would have had the facility rented for more hours. COVID-19 continues to majorly impact the food sector, and MHK is determined to support our member businesses and the community. So in response to this urgent need, we've partnered with JEDB. This is something we talked about at the last meeting, and we were able to launch it in April, where we have been given the members 50% off their MHK rental rates and storage rates. Those funds that we're continuing that through May, and those funds are nearing exhaustion. Total to date is about $600 shy of the limit. We're going to reassess that and see what the need is, if we can continue. We've been able to acquire some more funding that we may steer that way, or may save for a scholarship fund. I'd like to highlight some of our member businesses that have been able to successfully pivot their businesses during this crisis. So 3 of our small businesses have taken advantage of the federal small business assistance program. So hopefully that'll provide some help to them. Lazy Lady Baking Co., the member baker at MHK, was able to successfully transition her model and creatively offered a baked goods delivery service. That was really well received, and it sold out pretty quickly, so that's pretty exciting. Fit Clean Meals has become busier than ever with their meal prep services, and they have new contracts that we helped secure, which led to even more contracts. So they're doing very well, and even hiring new employees at this time. Some of our businesses have had no choice but to temporarily halt operations, but we're hopeful that they'll resume quickly, and we're going to do our best to assist them on the road to recovery. Other MHP news, we were awarded a competitive grant from the Tennessee Slow Foods chapter. The amount was for $500, and that was what I was talking about. We may apply this to the COVID scholarship or COVID relief, or potentially to a scholarship for next year. Additionally, we submitted the TNECD application, so that's included in the budget for $30,000. I have communicated with the coordinators and administrators, and it seems like that's going through, but again, I'll let you know when that contract gets signed, but I do think that that will move forward. And so that is for entrepreneurial support, industry specific training, so hiring technical advisors to teach classes that will most likely be online, and it is a 2-year contract, so we'll have some time to get those out into the community, whether that's virtual or at the kitchen. And we are working through equipment purchases that will add additional capacity to the kitchen as the power grant is coming to a close. And so that includes equipment to mostly support food manufacturing clients. And additionally, we're seeing a growing demand for work and storage space. And so we're transitioning the facilities to accommodate multiple users. So we're going to have some work tables in there and define work zones. So I think that'll really help out for the shared use aspect of the facility. And we had 2 new clients start this week. So there's still some interest, like I mentioned, of new people getting started, even though current situation, so that's good. And that is pretty much all I have for the update.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Comments from anyone? Good Parks and Rec, tourism, public relations update, Ashley.
All right, as you know, most of our things have been canceled because of COVID, including the Strawberry Festival that was supposed to be this past weekend. The British Car Show that was going to be the following weekend has also been canceled, but we are going to get to reschedule that one probably later in the fall. They were just a little overwhelmed right now. So we don't have a date, but we are going to reschedule that. Of course, we did have to cancel our Freedom Fest. That broke our heart. We are going to start our farmers market June 2nd. We will have COVID restrictions in place. Masks will be required. There's going to be social distancing and one-way traffic. We'll be modeling that off of Johnson Cities because we don't really have the proper demographic to do an online market. We have looked into that, but it's just not something that we really think will work for us. We're a little more local, so we're going to see how this goes. And I've had two new vendors that will be coming on because of the COVID. One is a mask vendor, and the second is the Ruatan. They're going to be able to set up there, I believe so. We're also going to do our yard sale June 5th, given, of course, nothing changes with the COVID situation. And our movies in the park are scheduled to start up June 12th. We do one of those a month, June, July, and August. I don't see a problem except maybe with funding, and we're open to suggestions there. The movies are a little more than $400 a piece, but I do suggest that if we do anything, we definitely do the August event because we do the back to school event for the kids right before that, and they really loved it last year. And we've got the fire department on the project this year with us to help with some water pressure. So I think it's going to add a little bit more fun because they're going to have the fire truck there and things like that. So we're looking forward to that. We're getting things ramped back up on the Clinchfield Railroad caboose restoration. We had someone come out today to give us a quote on sandblasting and priming. I've got another quote that we'll be getting soon on not just the sandblasting and the priming, but also the painting. So we are starting to kind of look at that again. As far as marketing, we are working on that website revamp. We have moved into the section where Trish is now working through proofing every single page within that site, every link, every word. And if you looked at it, that's a lot. So we're in the proofing stages, and we're hoping here in a couple weeks we can get that live. We also have business cards ready for the new department, or the new business cards ready for each department. That was sent out today. Department heads are proofing them, and it's supposed to be getting back with me ASAP because we would like to get those ordered by the end of the week. And then as far as what we've been doing, because we haven't, and we're normally crazy during this time planning back-to-back festivals, and we've not had that. So if anybody's wondering what we are doing, Trish has been catching up with a lot of paperwork that gets left by the wayside. So she's doing a lot of filing, a lot of proofing, things like that. I've been helping Debbie with the Zoom meeting platforms, the packets that you see. Those are really big files. So we have to scan them in, split them up. I've been helping prep some of the paperwork as well. So that's kind of the things we've been doing other than marketing, working on the brochures, working on, we have a new farmer's market guide that includes all the COVID. The marketing for the farmer's market will begin this week. Signs will go up Monday. We would have liked to have had that out sooner. We just didn't know what we were doing any sooner. So all that begins this week. And that's kind of, actually, I have one last thing that didn't make it on your report. We do have, and I'm going to show it right here for the camera if it can see. Nope, it can't. Yeah, there we go. Okay, for the people out there, that's what it looks like. And these are the hiking medallions. So a lot of people were asking for these last year. Obviously, if you've ever driven by in the past 2-3 months, the trail is still very heavily used despite the COVID. So I have instructed Trish, we'll be selling these for $5. We can't have anything out in the visitor center. We are open now, but barely. We were told to take all of our merchandise out of the front, so it almost looks like we're moving. And we put plexiglass up, so anybody that she interacts with through the plexiglass. And they can request something, she can show it to them, but they can't touch anything, and she has to be the only one to do that and bag it for them. So these are available now up at the visitor center. They say Pinnacle Trail, Unicoi, Tennessee, and they have the 3 buffalo on it and the tower in the background. So we're hoping those will be good sellers.
Can you pass it around for
I sure can. Yes.
How are you promoting it?
Well, we hadn't yet because the visitor center hadn't been open, but that's one of my things for this weekend is to get some Facebook posts. And I have joined a Facebook group called Hiking that I was promoting some new things through, as well as the caboose, and they seem to be very interactive. So I'm hoping that once I post that in that particular group, we'll get quite a bit of feedback. Thank you, Lois. I didn't think about that. Thank you.
Well, I thought about it. He said he's got a sore throat.
So we'll be marketing those pretty much over at the trail. I'm going to get some signage up over there that they can, and a picture of what it looks like so they can come over. We did have someone that visited our trail over the weekend, not this past weekend, a few weekends back, and they requested t-shirts because we weren't open on a weekend. And so I just did the very first one of that today to see what shipping and handling was going to cost. But I do think that when people call in and want us to mail, a t-shirt, if they were only in town for a weekend, I really feel like we need to find a way to do that. So I talked to the post office, and it looks like about $5 per shirt for shipping and handling. So we're going to be offering that too. That'll cover our shipping and handling charges if they pay.
But wait,
the $5.
there's more.
You order by midnight tonight.
Well, double your order.
Mhm.
Sorry.
I just hate telling people no, so I always try to find a way if I can. So, and the people that ordered were from somewhere in North Carolina, Crumpler, I believe, and they had no problem paying that shipping and handling. They were very pleased. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Police Department, Police Chief Andy Flagel.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Oh, she said you had to come over here. Lee is still on that picture right there.
Ain't nobody want to see me.
Ashley, but Lee is still on that picture right there. Is that what you want?
Hi, Lee.
I mean, she's pretty. It's easy to look at, but I mean, I'm just,
She's frozen.
do you want her on your screen?
People don't want to see me. No. Anyway,
I didn't even mess it up.
well, business has been booming with us. A lot of stuff you've probably already seen. We had since last meeting, we've had the shooting, which we worked with the Sheriff's Department, DA, and Carter, Washington County, THB. We all worked together, got him in custody. The victim's still making it. He's got a long way to go, but he's still making it. Had a ton of wrecks. A lot of people been wrecking.
Nice weather.
Yeah. We've worked several wrecks. We've still been kicking up night shift patrols. We've been working some weekends. A lot of churches having these drive-through churches. They've actually come up here and asked us if we could do a lot of patrols. They have speed problems on Sundays. So Aaron's been coming out past Sundays, and he's been out patrolling, making contact with churches. Been doing really, really good. Make multiple DUI arrests. We've been getting a lot more DUIs, getting more of our people thinks that means they need to get out and drink and drive. We've made several of the DUI arrests. We've actually made a ton of felony arrests too since last meeting. A lot of aggravated assaults, a lot of some felony drug charges. We had a runaway juvenile last week. We caught them. Also had been a lot of vehicle pursuits. But for some reason, everybody's been running. We've been involved in a couple of them. Our volunteers have logged over 150 hours this month. So they've been out there on their own time. Been going out. Me and Jay's been going out at 6 o'clock in the morning with Jay last couple times. Been going out at 6 o'clock in the morning on Tuesdays at Walmart where they have the senior citizen stuff. He's been going up there and working it. Been getting a lot of good reports from people. A lot of people's been happy with what we're doing. We always appreciate the town and the officials for their support. It's been also Officer Embler, he's going to go in the month for 3 weeks for transition school. He's been certified in North Carolina. Toledo at Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy has been shut down, but they've opened it back up, and he's going to be going down there. Nashville. And he's going to be representing town. He'll do a good job down there. He's been working on a waiver. They allow people certified in other states to work alone on a waiver. But he'll be going down there for 3 weeks in the month.
Thank you, Andy.
He's going down there as a volunteer too. So
Come on, Lee.
that's being dedicated to it.
Okay. Municipal court report.
Municipal court docket for May 5th, 2020. We have 8 line items on here. 6 were speeding, 8 citations, 9 violations, 6 were speeding, a proof of insurance, accident, property damage, equipment, parking on the right of way, 1 double yellow traffic divider, 1 no valid driver's license, 1 expired temporary driver's license.
Can I make a statement on that?
Yes.
That court date was low because we found out halfway through the month, they were switching the court date. So that was why the numbers that we just canceled right when we just went ahead and started writing for June court date.
Those totaled $1,310 violations. That's all for the docket report.
Deborah, you want to do the reporter's report and then go right on into the financial oversight?
Okay, some of these things I may repeat myself, because some of it does have things I mentioned in the budget. The FEMA update, with Donna Wengler. On May the 12th, FEMA asked for management costs to be submitted to them through the FEMA portal, which are costs incurred in the administration process, the collection of the documents such as maintenance records, invoices, and estimates from the Unicoi Highway Department. This was work that Larry Ray had worked on. You can recover 5% of your project costs from the administrative process. On May the 13th, the FEMA asked me to prepare a statement of maintenance, which was a statement stating that the Unicoi County Highway Department provides maintenance of the culverts and roads on behalf of the town of Unicoi. They also asked me to prepare a list of normal maintenance such as mowing, patching, bush hogging, spraying, resurfacing, paving on the behalf of the town of Unicoi. May the 14th, FEMA asked for a signature through the portal on the DDD, which is damage description and dimensions, on the 4 roads that we had submitted. So it's gone to the next level, and then they push it back, and then it goes to that level again, and so now it's gone to the next level for, I guess, quality assurance and any kind of questions that they have when they review their site reviewers, whatever. The Buffalo Valley Connector Grant, scope of the project has been reduced to go to the entrance of the Welcome Center, waiting a date for the potential bidders. This is in the budget. It was not removed. We did remove the Connector Trail Progress Grant, which was connecting from the Irwin to the town of Unicoi. That was removed from the budget. It's a carryover from current year. Update on the amphitheater. The mayor and Ashley and myself met with Lori Ann Wright, the drama teacher at the high school. We wanted her input about the stage necessities from a drama performance perspective. She had some really good ideas and was genuinely excited about the prospect of students having a place of that nature to perform there. We want the venue that will accommodate a variety of performances in different age groups. We were talking the other day, and just this is a side note, that the brides actually could get married on the amphitheater stage, and the caterers could cook in the kitchen and then have a reception in the pavilion. So it's all there, want to be there for those sort of things, which is exciting. The mayor's requested another meeting with Miguel and Associates and First Tennessee Development District and the city staff to further discuss the design of the amphitheater. And if any of the board members want to participate in the next meeting, it'll probably be sometime next week. And we would love for you all to come and give your input on that as well. RW Bridge, the TDOT project, still in the engineering state. We have by the last week, we paid a total of $25,906 to Tyson or Hampton. There are additional engineering costs of $15,735 to wrap up the engineering phase before the project goes out for bid. Indian Creek Bridge, TDOT project, I've not heard anything from that as of lately. Appropriations left to be paid this year are approximately $25,000. We'll be paying out approximately $12,500 in May and $12,500 in June. The final school bond payment, as I mentioned, when we're going through the budget of $43,750 will need to be paid in June, and that will be the final payment. I'd like to congratulate Lee Manning on her 3rd year anniversary as the Mountain Harvest Kitchen Director for the town of Unicoi. May 15th, 2020 was her 30-year anniversary. Lee does a great job, and I feel like we're all very fortunate to have her. And I wanted to say something too, because Tony Street's daughter, she graduated this year. And I know that's been hard for them to not have a normal graduation, but anyway, she did graduate. And again, I want to thank Ashley, because she has helped me a tremendous amount of, these packets have been huge. And our copier will only allow you to scan in so many of those pages. And she has software on her computer where she can pull them all together. And if something gets added late, she's able to stick that in and get it into a nice packet. And sometimes on Sunday, she comes down here and she's stuck right with me, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ashley.
It's a team. Okay, we'll move on into the financials. The balance sheet on the general fund, we have approximately $873,248 in cash money in the 2 different banks, the state investment pool. And so our assets are at $1,271,000, and our liabilities and fund balance is at $1,246,000. So our fund balance and appropriated right now is just a little bit over $1 million. On the next page, if you are following along on the revenues, you can take a look at our total amount of budget and where we are for April and year to date. So year to date, our revenues are $1,435,224, and for the month of April, we were at $120,356. On our expenditures, our budget amount for expenditures was $3,013,399. For April, our expenditures were $106,068. Year to date, $1,410,293. Balance sheet for the kitchen, total assets were at $43,000, and the total liabilities were $119,000. And the revenues for the kitchen year to date, $100,963, and the expenditures were $176,340. And the next section is the state shared money that we've received so far. If you look at 17-18, we total collected $307,423. And for the 18-19 year, it was at $319,975. And year to date through April, we're at $278,419, and our budget is at $330,000. So you can kind of take a look on the next page with the graph and see how we look. So we were doing pretty good. And I don't know, we don't know how it's going to turn out. We'll get our state shared revenue on the 21st of this month, and our local option sales tax will be on the 24th. So I think there'll be the 2-month lag. I think March, probably June, we're going to see, we'll see how we're going to be affected. It may get worse as the summer goes on. Let's see. Local option sales tax for the 17-18 year, we collected $736,528. 18-19 fiscal year, we collected $770,317. And so far in this year, we've collected $734,044. Our budget amount is $875,000. And then the graphs on the next page.
Motion for approval.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the financials? Call the question.
Alderman Bowen,
Yes.
Alderman Radford,
Yes.
Alderman Linville,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes. Okay, we're down to item 15, is a review of the citizens' comments previously submitted. Do we have any?
We do have someone that's online, Robert Taylor with the Unicoi Volunteer Fire Department that would like to talk.
Okay.
Can you hear us, Robert?
Hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for giving us the time. I'd like to start off. Does anybody have any questions on our budget request that we sent in? With that, I've made a packet that goes over with that request. Obviously, you noticed it was a little bit higher than usual. And that fell along with our 5-year, 10-year plan. One of the parts of that 5-year plan is to replace our 1997 main engine that we take out on almost every single smoke investigation, confirmed fire, possible fire. Right now, it's 23 years old. NFPA requires us to take that vehicle to a less use status, which would be like, for example, a reserve truck, to keep our ISO rating where it's at. Because obviously, we want to maintain the most affordable insurance rating possible for our residents. And with that request, that's within the next 3 years. That it may have sounded like we were wanting it, I guess, specifically for this year. That is just expectations in the next 3 years. So this budget was sent in without knowing the COVID-19 effects. And obviously we understand everything runs off of, sales tax and some parts of that economy system that the town collects. So that would be something in the next future to look at next year, or maybe in the 3rd year to look at possible funding for that. So hopefully that kind of explains where that budget request came in. And the other 18,000 we had written for SCBA's. We've tried for the last 3 years through FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security to replace our air pack system, which is our SCBA's that we use to go into a burning building, or for any type of hazmat situation. Those packs are getting to the 5-year mark of them. So we are trying to, before they go out, get them replaced as close to their end of lifespan as we can. And unfortunately, with Department of Homeland Security and FEMA, we have just not met the criteria to receive that grant yet. We've tried for 3 years. We'll keep trying, but as close to those air packs go out, we'll have to start looking at alternate ways to replace them. And with a single pack being roughly around 2,000, where you have 20, obviously there's a significant need to use a grant like Homeland Security or FEMA on that purchase. But that's all I've got now. I've got a packet for everyone. If I can drop them off at any time. We're usually here. So if anybody would like to come after the meeting, pick one up, and I can bring them down there sometime later this week that has everything, talking about a 5-year plan or vehicle replacement. What it covers, we're not looking at buying a brand new vehicle like New York City. We're just wanting to buy something that's only 10 years old, but that is suitable enough to keep our ISO running where it's at.
Robert, this is Kathy Bullen. I appreciate you sharing that, and it does help me understand what your request the background for your request, and that was cool, and I'm glad you shared that. But I mentioned that word might have gotten around. I've lived in the town of Unicoi for 20 years, and I think I pay the same $35 every year that I've paid since I've lived here.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any consideration, not raise it enough for you to go buy a truck, but I mean, it's been the same. I don't even know what y'all's return on that is.
Our return is only 18% of the 2,000 we send out.
Good night.
Yes, ma'am. So, we did if we did 35 straight across the board for every resident business, we should in reality have roughly around 80. We only get, I think this year alone, we're only at 22,000. And now we hand deliver about 100 of them extra that we try to count, because we get the labels from Irwin Utilities, so we have to hand deliver the ones that are on Elizabethan Power, Johnson City Power, and some that have Carter County addresses. So we mail out, I want to say 2,600, but we only get roughly about 18 to 19% of them back to our department in funding.
That is pitiful.
That's if we increase the amount even to 40, we probably won't see the difference, because that amount.
Somebody pay.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Gosh. Okay, I'm gonna have to ponder that one. That's a situation.
Didn't realize that, because I paid 3.
I mean, I only pay for my one. I pay, and I never even think about not paying.
Wasn't anything.
Oh, well. All right, Robert, thank you for
Thanks,
that
Robert.
information.
Thank you.
Help me understand your situation a little bit
Yes,
better.
ma'am.
Thanks.
Robert, thank you for what y'all do.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Do we have anyone else that wants to, that all? Okay, we'll move on down to item 16, announcements. Do we have any announcements? We will adjourn this meeting and then go right into the beer board meeting. So, y'all
Motion.
want to take a break?
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Let's just keep it. Motion to
We have a motion to say anything further. So, but we're going.
Okay. Oh, the announcement. No, we're about to. Yes.
Alderman Redmond,
Yes.
Alderman Linville,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes. Okay, we are adjourned in that meeting, and now open the beer board meeting up for Monday, May the 18th, 2020. I will do have David do the roll call, and please, for the record, please answer here. I can see participants, I can hear participants.
Alderman Boland,
Here, I can see participants and I can hear participants.
Alderman Redford,
Here, I can see participants, I can hear participants.
Alderman Linville,
Here, I can see participants, I can hear participants.
Vice Mayor Hobson,
Here, I can see participants, I can hear participants.
Mayor Lynch.
Here, I can see participants, I can hear participants. Okay, we're down to item 3, which is old business. We have none in old business, none under unfinished business. Item 5, new business, is the consideration for approval of an application for beer and other intoxication beverages permit from Town of Unicoi for Dimple Kailash Patel, CEO of Omkar Nath Incorporated. Business will operate under Maple Grove Wine and Liquor. Debbie, would you like to elaborate on that?
Well, this is the beer permit for them to sell the lower alcohol content beer. The higher alcohol content beer is included with the liquor license from the state of Tennessee. So this is approval of their beer permit.
It's gonna be Benton from Jerry Redmond.
They're gonna keep it back for one thing.
Yeah, it
The name will stay the same. I have no idea.
They'll be selling or renting.
Have a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and second. Okay, now, discussion. I think Maple Grove had a beer permit for,
Yeah.
lower, Conroe.
Oh, yeah.
Already.
They've had no time.
It's basically the same thing.
It's just kind of switching them over
Same
from
thing,
that
just
same.
new owner.
new owner.
Is this out of the owning or renting? I'm just
The pirate
curious.
shipping.
We don't know that, and I'm not sure we are not required to know that.
We don't have to, I don't think we can. I was just curious.
Any discussion, further discussion on this one, the beer permit? Call the question.
Alderman Boland,
Yes.
Alderman Radford,
Yes.
Alderman Linville,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes. Okay, that's about it for the motion to adjourn. Okay, second, motion to second,
Aye.
all in favor? We are done.
Hey, folks, hey, can someone help me just a little bit on the budget story?
Budget story. Yes, Sue, hold on. Let us get us off live. And
Okay.
then I will help you with that.
Second that motion.
Two of us together.